second part of the chapter 2, and that's where you know, it gets a little complicated. So last night we were talking about the controller GSP. Remember that guy? Yeah. And that controller GSP gave you a whole bunch of Java code. Yeah. Okay. So now today I'm gonna go over that again to go really nice and neat with that. So because I sent you the code last night. Did everybody get it? Yeah. You get the code? Right. So let's go back on this one. Before we did the JSP, this guy with the Java, what was it that we had? We have two forms, right? We have form A and then form B. So this one gave us some kind of a button, and this one gave us another button. And we agree that we can have as many forms as we want to inside a JSP, right? Mm-hmm. So the idea of the controller was that if you have a controller, then instead of having a whole bunch of forms, you can have the Java code over here, I'm sorry, the controller here, where you pass in the data hidden. The data is still being passed, but it's hidden. And then in here, you only have one form, only one. And remember when we did the input we had three things, right? One was the type of, whether it was text or hidden. The second one was the name, the value, and the last one was the value. Okay, so the value is exactly what shows on the button that you press. This one is the actual name of what this button is. Okay, so when you do this way, and when you want to do Java, as opposed to that. All right, let me write this here. You got that, right? So let's put that over here. This will be a name, and this is what we're interested in. Okay? So the form here, what we're looking for is that particular name. So instead of having buttons, forms, 1 form, 2 forms, 3 forms, and 20 forms, we only have one form where we're asking for the name. And based on the name, we call the JSP that we're looking for. Is that clear? No problems with that, right? All right. So the difference between, so this is still JSP because it's got a form. Same thing. So now what we have to do is, if you do the Java program, which is the last code that I sent you, you don't have to import anything once you're doing JSPs. All of the imports in Java, they all get done by the engine. You don't have to worry about that, okay? So it's a lot easier to program because you don't have to worry about classes or anything. You just go ahead and do your if statements. And the if statement is based on the name of the button. This name that I was looking for. Okay? So you're not looking for forms, you're not looking for anything, just the name of the button. It doesn't matter what the value of the button is. It doesn't matter whether the data is hidden or it's text. The if statement is only looking for the value of the name. Okay? Once you do that, then you go ahead and call the different forms. Okay? So the advantage of doing this like this, even though it's JSP, is that if you want to go ahead and add more JSPs on the main thing of this guy here, you can go ahead and add a whole bunch of more JSPs. All you need to change is this guy. Okay? You put another if. If the button or the next guy that you created is equal to that, then you go ahead and call that. Okay? So there's more structure. Right? So that's why they have the controller. Right? So the controller JSP is okay, no problem, straightforward. The Java code that I sent you is in the book. Yeah.
So is the controller itself, the name itself, is that calling the button or the JSP?
It can call anything.
Okay.
Yeah. You can also call, that's what we're gonna get into, you can also call the regular servlets. Okay? And then the advantage of this here, on the command, on the lineup on the address, and I was checking Google today to see if Google does the same thing, it's actually the same thing. Okay? So if you do the controller, you only see the controller here. And you also see the button, the name of the button. You don't know which one of the forms, which one of the other JSPs you're calling. Which is great because you're hiding these guys. So one of the things that the book says is that the analogy of this is like if you have a firewall in a company, so you're only opening up some ports. So in this case, you're opening up this port, and you're letting know what the button name is, and also the data that you're passing. Even if you have it hidden here, it still is going to show on this guy here. Okay? All right, so one problem that I found that was giving me a hard time on the book, on chapter 2, actually chapter 1. On page 1.4. So it's page 819 actually in the new book. Yeah. There is no page 1.4. 1.4 is actually a section.
Section, that's page 16.
Exactly. You see about almost in the middle of the page, maybe a little bit higher, it says web period XML. Okay, so it talks about web XML, and you're supposed to use it once you do servlets, but it doesn't tell you how to include it, how to add it into the actual program that you're doing. All right? And then if by accident you find out where it's at, then you don't see the whole thing. So let me show you how to do it. So I'm gonna pick one that I don't have anything in it.
Nice piece right there. Did you get it from Apple or from?
How am I gonna read this?
We can share. Another case.
Alright, so you notice that we have this, it's supposed to be right here inside this folder, the WANF, but like in this case, it's not there. So the default is not to be there. So what we need to do is right click over there. Ready? New. And then we're looking for a file called what was it?
I mean web.xml.
XML. Alright, so you can continue looking for all of those guys here. It's not listed. You can go to the other here. It gives you a whole bunch of sections here. You can go section by section and you don't find it anywhere. But it's here. What happens is that it's right here, but you don't really see it. Okay? Alright, so let me go back again. So you right click on WebINF, you go new, you go other.
How about the top one, the first top one? Standard
No,
deployment.
he has the same thing, but he clicked on it before.
Is that the same?
It's not
It
the
is,
same.
it is the same.
Because I clicked before that, right? Okay. So if you haven't used it, you have to go all the way down here and add it,
Oh, okay, gotcha.
okay? You do next, just double check that everything is fine, there's the name of the file, leave it alone because that's the one you're gonna be working with, and just finish.
It doesn't allow.
And hopefully it's here. So it's open. If you open this guy here, yeah, there it is.
Oh,
Okay, so it shows in two places now, from now on. It's gonna show under the WINF, and it also shows under configuration files. But it's the same one. This one and this one is the same one.
What is that?
That one is extremely important. If you don't have that one, you can use servlets. Okay, you can work with the servlets, but they will never execute. So this one comes with a session configuration, and that's it. All right, so I'm gonna switch over to another one that I've been working with, and I forgot which one was here. So very close all of these guys, so we're gonna get confused.
We need to do it all the time when you create a new project.
When you create a new project, if you're creating a servlet, yeah, you have to create it. Because the default is that it doesn't have it. Okay, so I've been working today with this one. So you double click on it. And so remember the previous one, you only had this guy here called session. That was it? That was the only section, right? So the way that it works is very simple. So this one that you see here is divided into two sections. One is called, we call it servlet, right? That is a section for servlet name. The name that you get over here is any name that you want to give, whatever name you want to give it, okay? Doesn't matter what you give it. Then the class, the section of the class is where do you have the Java class that is actually the servlet? That will be a directory. So if you don't have that section when you run it, then the software doesn't know where to go and look for the class. Okay. So I don't know what they did this, but over here I put chapter 2 servlet, and I have a period, and I have a name. Then this is the first one with the name. This name has to be the same name as this guy here. Whatever name you put over here, this one has to be exactly the same name. Okay, and again, you can put whatever name makes sense to you. Okay.
Professor?
Yes, sir.
Where's the class first servlet? I think I asked it the last time. Because this class is web.xml.
Yeah, I'll get back to that in a minute. Okay. I'll tell you exactly how to get that. So here's where the class is. Then the mapping, both of them, they have to have the same name. And this URL pattern, okay, notice that it's exactly the same default. The first guy is the same one, but instead of having a period, he has a // and he has to also have a / before. Okay, so this is the mapping, and this is the actual name of the server. Okay, so what is here? This one here is when you create a servlet, you have to go into the section called source packages. Right? Now, if you look at one that I haven't used, and you look into source packages, it's got a default package. Make sure you don't use the default package. According to Downey, if you use it, a lot of funny things happen. And I don't know if you mean funny how funny screwed up. So what you need to do is you need to, over here, you need to do a right click and create, what is it you need to create here?
A new servlet class?
A servlet. Not a class, but a servlet. Okay. So you create the servlet, you give it a name, which I did right here. I call it chapter 2 servlet. I only see one person writing. Everybody else is good memory.
Video.
Oh, that's video.
Okay.
All right.
Guess
Who's
so.
looking at something?
Yeah.
Technology.
Who's looking at something?
I'm sorry?
Huh?
So now if you want to create an actual Java program inside the that particular section of the source, of the packages, then you go ahead and you create what? Java class.